Everyone's asking, well, why don't we just do this as a part of the company? And I said, I feel like there's an enterprise to unlock and maybe something different we could do. So you have to be thoughtful about stepping backwards to the first or second rung to kind of bring people up to especially if you're trying to do something new and if, for focusing on entrepreneurialism for a minute.
Truly, it sounds as if you're embracing that servant leadership mentality, right? Like how you can lift up, inspire, and then also really support and challenge those on the team around you that truly can help innovate and evolve the organization.
I'm Dr. Amy Athey. As a licensed psychologist and performance expert, working with elite athletes, C-suite executives, and high performers operating in some of the most demanding environments, I've seen what it truly takes to perform when it matters most. From supporting members of the Naval Special Warfare community to advising leaders in high-stakes, high-pressure situations, one truth remains consistent. The tools that drive performance are the same. You prepare in a way that allows you to show up ready when the moment arrives. Each week, I'll share practical tools and insights to help you strengthen how you think, lead, and perform. Welcome to Still Evolving.
Doug, welcome to Still Evolving. Grateful to have you here and to have this conversation. So thank you. Why don't we start off just sharing with our audience a bit more about you? So if you could reflect and share a bit of your background and your journey, maybe where you came from, what you're working on now.
Sure. Thanks. Yep. I started out in consulting, working for one of those big monolithic firms. And early on, I remember I was in the boardrooms of AT&T, and I remember taking this leave of absence because my father called me. He's an ophthalmologist, and he wasn't able to make payroll, and he should have been at the heyday of his career. So I didn't know what was going on. I remember I took a sabbatical. I was in a high perform path at the time. So mentors came and said, you're making a mistake here. But anyway, I went to support my father with his billing practice, recoup some money for him. And before I knew it, I had 8 other physicians in Astoria, Queens, wanting me to do centralized billing for them. So I discovered I was an entrepreneur and took that to a few other consulting firms. I landed in a firm called Aquis Consulting, where we built a company next to the organization. And similarly, people were looking at me like I had 2 heads or 3 heads. We built, and instead of working in a practice area, we built a company next to the consulting firm. And everyone's asking, well, why don't we just do this as a part of the company? And I said, I feel like there's an enterprise to unlock and maybe something different we can do in the marketplace. And I pivoted some of those athletes from their standard consulting fare, hired some operators from the pharmaceutical industry, brought that to market, and we started kicking the butt of strategy firms because we had operators instead of consultants that were helping to work on the standard problems of big pharma at the time. We've since moved into biotech, but it was kind of like an unheard of kind of a business model. We got our teeth kicked in a bunch of times, Amy. People told us we didn't know what we were doing and all that kind of stuff. But pivoted a few times, expanded the operator pathway, hired different types of pharma execs, expanded the consultant pathway, turned into quasi-operators of our clients. And, flash forward to today, we're part of a 1,200-person organization doing totally novel things in biotech and large pharma clients. Largely our passion's in the biotech space, but we support a broader constituency. And it was all because of a pivot on a business model really built on athleticism of people thinking, that, the industry doesn't shape itself in an optimal way, but rather, there's a chance if you use the right kind of athletes and support of the human capital model, you'll figure out something that can be special. And I think we got there. That was a long-winded overview. Yeah, anyway.
Wow. Super. I could go in so many different directions. I'm really curious. You mentioned when life throws its punches, which indeed they do. And I'm curious to learn from you about what have you gained from this experience that you would like to share, just kind of lessons learned when leading a team through challenge and adversity, or perhaps maybe you did observe that from other leaders that you're kind of like mental note. I want to stay away from that behavior, or perhaps maybe I want to take that one on and add it to my toolbox. But as a leader, when you're leading a team, an organization through that challenge and adversity, what have been some of your lessons learned?
Yeah. I think leadership requires, fighting the bias of conformity that most people suffer with. Even I suffer with it all the time. But thinking that today's conventions are applicable to tomorrow. And anytime someone brings an idea, it's got to be grounded in some form of operational or reality. But the challenge is that I think is the big entrepreneurial challenge, is like navigating around buy-in and support and bringing people with you for the journey. And, everyone suffers from the perceptions of the world as they conceive it, or their ladder of inference,
Right.
And it's really hard to figure out what's leading people to, especially in a group setting, what's leading everyone to their position. So you have to be thoughtful about maybe stepping backwards to the first or second rung to kind of bring people up to especially if you're trying to do something new, and if, for focusing on entrepreneurialism for a minute. But yeah, I think care and feeding, stepping to a bigger picture, your question, care and feeding for people. I've always tried to put the team around me to be situated to be better than, what I've achieved or where I am, both economically and also through, field work and knowledge gained. I always try to think of the next generation to how are we going to build something that the people that haven't even started here are going to be proud of? Like, how do we do that now? So subvert ourselves to create something for them. And that, by the way, which was learned from some mentors that guided me on, like, they were selfless about their own career, how to help others. So that stuck with me. And I really think the more you give to that, the more you get, which it can be self-serving if you're not careful. But it's been truly a blessing for me to be around all these great people, watch them succeed. And with their success comes success for the company. And we create this virtuous room for the people that are yet to join us. And that's been a special part of this journey here.
Truly, it sounds as if you're embracing that servant leadership mentality, right? Like how you can lift up, inspire, and then also really support and challenge those on the team around you that truly can help innovate and evolve the organization. It's interesting, I'm having a number of conversations with leaders each day, talking about, you can't escape the conversation with agentic AI, right? Like it comes, I feel like it comes up morning, noon, and night. And I had a call with a CEO of a tech services company, and he was talking about just the most challenge. I mean, for those in the tech space, AI has been around for a while. Like,
right.
I don't know about you, but like for me, it's like rocked your world. But people have been there, done that. They're kind of like, yeah, we know about it. So for him, he was describing the most challenging piece is just leading and working with his people, because the people's reactions to this, one could see it as a threat, others could see it as a challenge, really on the spectrum go from fear that all of a sudden I'm out of work, right? And like this world, this existential threat, all the way to the optimism that, hey, perhaps this is another tool that could really help us evolve, innovate, and solve problems that perhaps weren't on our horizon for quite some time. For you, when you think about this tool and how you're working with your people and they could see it as a threat or a challenge, that mindset, what have you found that helps in just, like you were talking about, taking the temperature of your team and working them to this more innovative mind space versus kind of being locked up with what risk could happen with it? Yeah.
First, I agree with everything you said there, that both a threat and, but also an incredible opportunity. I feel those things like daily with AI. Actually, on Friday, I had 15 minutes between meetings. I almost never get a break during the day. I can run wire to wire. And I used a AI tool to develop a deck on a business model. I downloaded it. I pulled all proprietary information out of a script that I generated, and it generated 10 slides that I think it would have taken me 6 weeks, 10 years ago to ideate on with the team. It did some thinking it was incredible. But anyway, so one principle that came two principles I think of when you gave your preamble to this question. One is certain business rules always apply, and all this craziness, this might be ameliorative to the be fearful attribute. We're going to have business, conventions that are present today in 10 years and 20 years. So, being a thoughtful change agent and acting interoperably with groups and people, it's going to be valuable forever. So I would tell people, and I do tell my team to take it, myself included, take a deep breath and, and know that the value of a change agent is always going to be valuable. So, that's one thread. But the second principle would be having smarter people around you, surrounding yourself for another virtuous circle. If you surround yourself with better people, and not everyone's at the building phases can have this luxury, but we have that here. Early on, I picked a leader we acquired a company. He's a great executive in his own right. And I said to him, I'm so fearful. This is going back 24 months. I'm so fearful about AI and our business model. We have to figure out, it's the blind spot that we all have right now. And, things were different back 24 months ago, as it's just still starting to hit the market. Anyway, he's leaned in, a team around him of consultants that some of our other leaders have leaned in. And, I think it's critical to take inventory of what you're good at. And, be open to, I guess, to your point of servant leader. I do ascribe to that kind of methodology, but, letting people, putting them in positions to succeed and be smarter and better than you in areas of high effort, low yield will always win. It will always win. So, obviously faith, trust, building a culture around that's cooperative are key attributes of making a win. But anyway, we've got a robust program here because of the confluence of trust in others, innovation in core roles, and the technology itself, which, as you said, it's incredible.
Absolutely. Well, and I was reminded too of another person I was having this conversation. Remember, there are still limitations to the technology, right? Like humans still have these core attributes that we can't manufacture empathy, right? Like you talk about the change. Well, that's human behavior, right? Like we're not all robots. And so how you can still connect with the people around you. And I really appreciate how you can truly captivate the power, or capitalize on the power of the strength of the collective, right? That by your understanding of them, their strengths, their experience, and your historical, interaction with them, that you can put them in the room together to really, really, use the tools to then be more impactful, I guess, intentionally impactful. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think
absolutely.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
The most impactful tool, I think, is unlocking someone else's talent. And, obviously technology can help with those attributes, but if, a good matrixed, and I've been around so many that have done this, for me, help me, but, so figuring out what is next for somebody in a matrix organization or a leadership chain is hard to configure. But if you do figure out a way to cascade that to the 4 to 8 people around you, and you kind of truly lean into like nurturing career development, goal targeting, experiential build together, and play into those strengths, those relative strengths, and using the market as your sandbox, that will propagate to another layer of the organization, which could put you in a position to create, scale and grow something impressive. Because a group that's working toward extending the value and the career alignment of the people that work, adjacent to them and for them, is a powerful creature.
You talk about the power of this connection, right, with your team, and how you can see in their development where you can continue to grow and they continue to evolve and learn, and then only add back to all that you're working on, all that you're doing. For you as a leader, like, where do you find your connection? Like, do you have mentors? Do you have a coach? Where have you found your support and challenge?
Yeah, it's so funny. And Amy, I've been terrible at this. I just had a half-hour introductory call with a CEO coaching service, and just went through it and really enjoyed talking to this very prolifically successful gentleman. And I have someone I'm talking to. I'm talking to her next week as a second possible coach. So anyway, super interesting process. I've been woefully inadequate. So I've leaned on peers and subordinates for that kind of coaching. And we're blessed here. We have operators from, that hiring model I mentioned. We have these incredible leaders from the pharmaceutical industry that are in the organization. So if you're open to it, I really feel like you can turn meeting structures and governance into an educational environment where people learn from each other. That has to be, that can be hard to do if people are too fixated on levels and, maybe being cautious about what they say in group settings. But I think we've unlocked that in multiple. I've been a part of multiple organizations where that's been a truth. So coaching can be omnipresent and come from too many vectors if you're not careful. But
absolutely,
I'm getting a lot of you could have done this better.
Well, I mean, I think it reminds me of when you talk about how even within your team environments, if you can create a climate by which you can set those egos at the door, perhaps the hierarchy of power, and have a real conversation of lessons learned. I mean, I think military models like after actions, whether it's the SEALs, whether it's, I think there's a lot of videos out there. I use some in my teaching of the concept from the Blue Angels and how they debrief. Like really, like in many of those situations, rank does not matter. And we are really looking to ask ourselves, like, what's 1% better? And like, there are going to be some deal breakers along the way, of course, of behaviors that just are not tolerated. And there's also, we're all human. So where can we continue to learn and grow from these experiences? So healthy reminder there. This is a grind, Doug. I'm curious. It's more than a marathon, your journey as an entrepreneur. It goes back many years. What has helped you either stay grounded or fueled in this more than a marathon? Maybe an aspect of recovery or something that you find in your daily or weekly routine that has helped you sustain this level of high performance over time?
Yeah, I do think about the next generation all the time. So, we kind of look at the company as an imperfect product, and if you're thinking about it that way, you got an eye on improvement all the time. So I think the way I heal is to think about the potential that can be driven in both those colleagues I mentioned, the people closest to me, and what we can build for the team that hasn't joined us, and that truly motivates me to get up every morning. So head hits the pillow, I try to shut it off, but I'm always I'm a creature of I can't get out of the pattern of thinking of 2 or 3 dots 2 to 3 years out. So I enjoy that I find it cathartic to think about what could be. And then, find myself waking up with the intentionality of at least coming in. And I've been trying to transfer this kind of thinking. Maybe it might be a curse. Maybe I should keep it to myself. Trying to transfer this to a few people who are just brilliant here. So, and I think I found a few thought partners to kind of always engage in what we could do with, with a people model. Really, your product can be quite transformative, but it's also malleable. So what can we deliver to the market 2 to 3 years from now? And what kind of people can we serve in the future? Thinking about that and rolling around with it, I draw energy from it.
Thank you, Doug, for that. It reminds me, I co-wrote a book with my mentor, Dr. George Everly, on transformative resilient leadership. And we talk about what is it about leadership? What are the core factors in leadership that helps create resilient organizations? And one of those factors is that optimistic vision. So I love hearing about those reflective prompts that you ask yourself that really helps not only tap, but unlock and share that optimistic vision, because not only who knows where it will take you, the organization, your people, but just inspiring others around you to do the same. So healthy and impactful reminder. Thank you.
Amy, I've enjoyed our conversations. I find you delightful. I really
thank you
here, and I think you're on to something great. So,
awesome.
The crew around you. Thank you.
Appreciate you.